Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my trusty sidekick, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Eric Dalala.
Phil, great to be with you for another episode.
We're almost to 200, huh?
I think we're getting close.
We're pretty close to 200. We'll have to have some big surprise or something planned.
Confetti or something like that.
A lot of confetti. Maybe some famous past guests.
That could be nice.
Could be nice. Maybe tell some stories on that one. But yeah, that's not what today's about, though.
No, we're episode by episode.
We're focused on the Cowboys for this episode.
Yeah.
Eric, a lot of Von Miller talk this week. I think that we summed things up pretty well in our Monday show. But we heard from George Paton on Tuesday. Maybe we can dive into some of his comments a little bit, what he had to say regarding the trade. And more specifically, with the assets the Broncos got in return, what is the game plan now moving forward?
Everybody wants to know.
Yeah, what's the idea here? The Broncos have 11 draft picks right now. You probably aren't going to use all 11. George Paton says it gives us gives the Broncos some flexibility here. Let's talk about maybe what he's thinking a little bit, because George Paton, Eric, to me strikes me as the kind of guy who has a plan and then he's focused on executing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen that since he's gotten here. There's a plan. He's working toward it. Hopefully get there soon.
Building a foundation is something that he likes to talk about a lot. So we'll dive into that a little bit. Then we'll talk about this Cowboys game coming up on Sunday. Eric, did you know the Broncos have won 6 consecutive games against the Cowboys?
Wow, it's pretty impressive.
That's you don't run into a stat like that so often,
No, that's why we need you to bring us those sorts of stats.
I find those kinds of stats. You dive into the DVOA.
That's right.
You and Pete Carroll hanging out in the DVOA.
Yeah, it's a DVOA club.
Yeah. You talk to him often, or you text? Mostly text.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kind of see each other from across the club sometimes.
Got it.
Got to socially distance.
It looks like Dak is going to be back this week, Eric.
Potentially.
It seems like that. That's what it seems like it's trending toward. And gosh, that offensive side of the ball for the Cowboys is really loaded. You're talking about Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, the list goes on and on that side of the ball, and the stats reflect that. I mean, they're the number one offense in terms of total yards. They're like top 5 pretty much in every single category.
They're really good.
Yeah, what are the Broncos going to do?
They got to score some points.
Yeah, Bryce Callahan placed on IR. They traded away Von Miller. This is going to be an interesting matchup. The Cowboys offense versus the Broncos defense. We'll get into that a little bit. And then we've got bold predictions, Eric.
That's right. As always.
You're pretty bold with those.
Yeah, I can't remember. What did I say last week? I think I said Justin Simmons would have an interception, didn't I?
I think what you said, you were like, he's going to have an interception on the final play of the first half.
Yeah.
And then I think you said there's going to be another, not really a Hail Mary, but kind of a Hail Mary interception in the second half, I think.
I think I said Simmons interception and Alberto touchdown. I don't think.
Yeah, that didn't happen. Yeah. I think I predicted a Javonte Williams fumble and then 2 plays later a Melvin Gordon fumble on the final drive.
Yeah, we need to start writing these down because I don't remember them a week later.
I think you said 24 points for the Broncos.
I did say that.
Yeah, and then
you said
16,
30.
and I said 30. Yeah. I was a little bit off. Was
That's
I off
okay.
or was the Broncos offense off?
That's true. Maybe both.
Yeah, if you really think about it, they should have scored 30 points.
Yeah.
That's
true.
So
maybe
my prediction was correct, but they were off.
We got to get that fixed.
Yeah, makes you think a little bit. We also have a lot of fan engagement this week, Eric. 4 voicemails.
That's a lot.
If somebody watching, listening right now wants to leave a voicemail, be a part of the Neutral Zone, maybe they're out there, they got a hot take. What do you do about it?
You think they should tell us?
No, you tell them.
But they should tell us their hot take?
Yes, of course.
Oh,
yeah, I want to hear it, and then we'll play it. Really hot.
What's like the hot?
Sizzling.
Okay.
Sizzling.
Well, then they should call
surface of the sun.
707 neutral.
707 neutral.
Yeah.
That is how you leave a voicemail.
If it's scalding, like
really
fiery, like you can't even afford to say it,
yeah.
maybe you email it to neutralzoneshow@gmail.com.
If you can't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what if, like, you want more of a personal, a direct line of communication?
Yeah, so your email is
Your address.
Yeah, exactly. You could tweet at us at Phil Milani with a PH. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
At Eric Dalala with an A. That would make sense in my mind.
Those I would refer to as non-traditional spelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what if they're just watching on YouTube and they're just like, okay, I got to comment.
Well, you could do that, or you could smash that subscribe button, too.
You smash the subscribe button.
You got to.
So many of the comments are about your sweaters.
That's right.
Not really a sweater today. It's more like
a quarter.
What would you call that?
Yeah, I don't really.
More of a pullover, maybe?
Pullover.
Yeah,
That's
pullover.
nice.
Yeah. Pullover. No, it's a cardigan.
Yeah, pull over. I'm not even driving.
A lot of comments about our hair. We like those, but we need some football comments too mixed in there.
That's true. That's true. Just once in a while.
Yeah. So those are all the ways that you can get involved in the show. We also go out to Breckenridge Brewery.
Yep.
In Littleton, here in the Denver metro area. That's off of Santa Fe and Brewery Lane.
That's right.
We're there every Monday from 6 to 7 p.m. exactly.
On the dot, yep.
Yeah, those are mountain times.
Yes.
And if you don't live in the Denver metro area, can't make it out to the brewery, we're also live on the Broncos YouTube page. So that's every Monday from 6 to 7. So it's a lot of fun.
It's great.
Let's dive into our first topic here on this edition of the Neutral Zone. And Eric, wondering what the game plan is here after the Broncos traded away Von Miller, the franchise leader in sacks, sort of the face of this franchise ever since Peyton Manning retired. And now they've sort of turned that page and they're moving forward in a new direction here. What is that direction?
Yeah, well, I think it was interesting that comment that George made, that they've got a lot of flexibility, they can do a lot of things, that was interesting to me. But perhaps the more interesting comment in my mind was that he said, we're not rebuilding. We have too many core players in place. We've got too many good guys on this roster to completely start over and rebuild. And that's guys like Justin Simmons, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Bradley Chubb. I mean, you've got some good pieces here where it doesn't make sense to start over completely, tear it down to the studs, trade everybody away. I think you saw some of that, Phil, with their decision of just to move Von Miller. But I think with that said, from there you go maybe 3 different ways you can use these draft picks. And George identified all these. You can use them to acquire a veteran player. You can use them to move up and get a player in the draft. Or you can just stay and pick some players. The 11 picks is nice. I really view the 5 picks in the top 100 as kind of the important draft capital to focus on. But so I think all the options are open in terms of, and when he says player, in my mind at least, I think that means quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Here, let me read that exact quote here. This is on the flexibility the team now has entering the 2022 NFL draft. It gives us a lot of flexibility. We have 11 picks in this draft, so we love it. It gives us the flexibility to go get a player. It gives us the flexibility to move up in the draft or move back. We really can do whatever we want. That's what you always want to do going into the draft. We like where we're at. Eric, when he says that it's not ready to rebuild, okay, and he also talks about the flexibility of going out and getting a player, if you add those 2 comments together, what does that equal in your mind?
Well, I mean, I think that's the chance of getting a veteran quarterback.
I think that's how, reading in between the lines there, that's what it sort of felt like to me. Because if you go draft a quarterback, it's not really a rebuild, but it's sort of saying we got a project here where we're trying to develop this person into, our franchise quarterback. That's what this message, I think, sounds. If you move up and you take a quarterback in this year's draft, it's not a rebuild. But it is saying, unless this guy is just an absolute insane stud and it hits the ground running, probably not winning right away.
Well, I don't know if I think that he's suggesting they're going to win right away, because he would go on in the press conference to say, we're going to build this thing the right way. It's going to take some time. We want to get to where the Rams, he brought them up as a place he sent Vaughn. They're ready to compete for a championship. He said, we're not on their level yet. So to me, the veteran quarterback could be an option. But I think he left some room there for when he says build things the right way, build this foundation.
Through the draft.
That could mean, and we know that he thinks that, he said when he first got hired, the lifeblood of your organization is the draft. And so I think he certainly left it open to get a player that can change your franchise through the draft process. And of course, he didn't say this, but we all assume when you say go get a player with multiple picks or go get a player in the draft by trading up, we just kind of assume that that's a quarterback. We should make it clear that he did not say
that
quarterback, but we're just kind of inferring based on that. But yeah, I think that this team, the flexibility they do have two directions. You could add a veteran quarterback via a trade and probably be ready to compete for a Super Bowl right away, depending on what you give up, especially if it's just draft capital. Like if you can keep some of the pieces in place and not trade current players, you should be ready to go after this thing. But I also think they're in good shape where you've got some young players still on rookie deals. You've only got a couple of core guys that you really have either paid or going to need to pay very soon. And so if you do get a rookie quarterback, even if it takes a year for that guy to kind of get into a rhythm and a groove and really solidify himself,
they could be in position a couple of years later.
Right, like you think about the Chargers, to me, are a good example where they had a lot of veteran players in place with like a Chris Harris Jr. They went out and got Keenan Allen. Derwin James was a young guy that they drafted ahead of Herbert, but was still on that rookie deal. Yeah, Bosa. So I kind of view this team as if you put a really dynamic – that's not to take away what Teddy's done because I think he's done what they've expected of him and what they've asked. But if you added a really dynamic player there, I think it could still be a young quarterback and find success.
Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to if they identify that quarterback in the draft and they say, okay, this is our guy, this is who we're targeting, we're all in on this guy.
Of course.
I could see the Broncos potentially doing something like that. But I think one of the things we learned through this Von Miller trade is thinking back to Von's time here in Denver after the Super Bowl, he was really good a few of those years, 2016, 17, and it didn't lead to Broncos team success. It didn't lead to the playoffs. It didn't lead to, what ultimately everybody is playing for, and that is to get in the tournament and a chance to win it all. And so I think no matter how good you are in some areas of your football team, it really comes down to a quarterback. And I think that that's clear, and I think that that was a big part of this trade, if you ask me, is that, hey, we've just got to get this position corrected. I think that that's the mentality there from George Paton.
Well, I think it just gives you the option to do it, because you don't want to go into next offseason and not have the resources if you decide this is a veteran guy we like or this is a rookie that we like and we want to draft. You don't want to be caught flat-footed and not be able to take that player.
Yeah.
And so I think this trade allows you to at least have the opportunity. And maybe, I'm sure they're still evaluating the draft class. They probably are still evaluating the veteran group of quarterbacks in terms of what you're willing to give up. But at least now you got some ammo. You got some wiggle room. You got some stuff to work with. And I think as you go through the process, you'll say, well, say you have to give up X for veteran quarterback number one. And maybe you only have to give up less to get a rookie quarterback to trade up and get that guy. Then you got to decide, well, what's in the best long-term interest of the franchise? What's going to help you this year? How does this player complement the rest of the roster? If you trade for somebody, are you going to have to give away current pieces? I mean, those are all things to consider, but you want as many pieces of ammo as you can.
Yeah.
And that's what these draft picks are. I do think one thing that was interesting, Phil, is that George said, we're going to be aggressive this offseason.
Yep.
He said, that. We're going to be aggressive. I would say that the Pat Surtain pick, while really good and has worked out well, I think. I mean, Pat's been everything you could ask for. I wouldn't characterize it as aggressive.
No.
Because, you stood
just
there.
Smart.
Yes, smart. But not necessarily like they didn't move up to get Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
They didn't move up to get a quarterback. They didn't, do anything crazy. But this offseason, it sounds like George Paton's ready to attack, whether it's a quarterback or another way to upgrade your roster, like if they were to add a big-time pass rusher in free agency, or they were to, get a crazy wide receiver or something like that to complement Jerry Jeudy if they can't retain Cortland Sutton. Those things to me are also big moves, but it does sound like George Paton's ready to take that next step in building this roster.
And I think, Eric, in any sort of field, in the business world, in any sort of name a category in that field,
veterinarian,
it's always good for management to come in and observe how things are run. See what's going on here, see what you have, and then decide what changes you feel like need to be made.
Dolphin training.
And I think, if you're in the dolphin training business and you come in, say you're at SeaWorld, okay, what are we working with here?
I think SeaWorld got canceled.
All of them did?
I don't think people like SeaWorld these days.
Oh, well, I didn't say I liked it.
Oh, you're just, okay, got it.
What kind of dolphin training are you referring to?
Like one of the more humane dolphin trainings?
Yeah. Can you name that? Where?
Yeah, there's the Humane Dolphin Training Center of Clearwater, Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Good place.
That's nice. Okay, so you're working there.
Okay.
Okay.
Working where?
At that place in Clearwater you just talked about.
Which place?
The Humane Dolphin Training.
Oh, the Humane Dolphin Training Center of Clearwater?
Center, yes.
Okay,
center.
got it. Yeah, good place.
Do they have like a splash zone there where you come and watch, or you don't watch?
No, they train these dolphins for their own enjoyment.
The trainers.
No. The dolphins enjoy
the tricks that they're doing.
The stimulation.
Like they learn the trick and then they're pleased with themselves.
Well, they say that about dogs too. Like dogs, a trained dog is a happy dog.
Yeah, like it has confidence.
Yeah,
so when mentally, those dolphins go out into
back into the world,
back into the sea.
Yep.
They're like, look at what I know how to do, and they show off in front of their dolphins.
And they do a little flip.
They do a flip, and then the other dolphin who's not trained is
you have not seen Free Willy, have you?
That's the one where the whale
that's a whale.
Jumps over the wall.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a long time, though. Eric, anyway, management, it's good to observe what's going on before you go in and make some wholesale changes.
Yes.
That's a phrase, huh? I got that one right.
Wholesale changes.
Fire
sale changes, I think.
Fire sale. I think wholesale works too.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, it makes sense for George to come in and just sort of survey the landscape here, understand what he's working with the team. Then if he's going to make big moves, it's this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there was a chance, and it sounds like they tried to explore some of these big moves. I mean, we don't know exactly what they offered for Matt Stafford, but there's been reports that they tried
Interesting he mentioned the Rams. Like, we're not where the Rams are. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if the Broncos had Matt Stafford, they would be where the Rams are?
I think they'd probably be better based on...
Better than the Rams?
No. Better than they are currently.
I'm saying if the Broncos had acquired Matt Stafford,
I was answering. I was saying they're better than they are now.
Okay,
but
go ahead and keep going here. 5 minutes later, you want to tell me the answer?
Do you want me to answer your question?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think that Sean McVay elevates quarterbacks in a way that is unique to 1, 2, 3 coaches in the entire league. And so I'm not sure Matt Stafford's as good here as he would be in LA.
I think that's fair. to say. But Broncos he
made Jared Goff into a Super Bowl quarterback.
Yeah.
And now Jared Goff has not won a game.
Yeah. It's just interesting that he mentioned we're not as good as where the Rams are right now. Those are his words. That's just interesting because that's a team that always goes out in free agency or makes trades, and they don't really necessarily build their stars up from the draft. And it seems like draft capital doesn't really mean much to them. They're all about now.
Yeah, well, and there's pros and cons to that, right? Because if you have your entire salary cap into 6 or 7 players, then if one of those guys goes down like they did last year or the year before, I can't remember, a bunch of those guys got hurt.
It's risky.
You're not going to do anything. And so I do think there's value in building the entire foundation of the roster. But
that's how you see a lot of successful teams around the league, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Patriots.
Exactly.
They do this through the draft.
Yeah. I do think that this offseason he has a chance to go make a big play. And it makes sense because if you're a GM, he's on a 6-year contract, right?
Yeah.
You're going into year 2. If you want to have 2 cracks at it, which you probably do with a quarterback, because listen, that's what's going to determine long term if this works out or not. you want 2 cracks at it. And so if you wait till year 3 or 4 to go for your long-term guy, you probably only get one chance to see that guy through. If you go in year 2 and say you draft somebody or you trade for somebody and it's just kind of so-so, it doesn't quite work out, you might get one more chance a couple years later to try for another guy. And so that's why I think you got to kind of get this thing rolling, figure out, even if it means, hey, we're going to bring Teddy back and he's going to start at the beginning of the year, or he's going to serve as that veteran leader. That, of course, would only be probably in the situation of a young rookie quarterback. But I think you got to move toward a long-term solution.
I agree. I mean, even when Peyton was here, there's like just this window that you felt like, all right, the Broncos got to win it in this window, and they did that. But there's something just so special about having a young quarterback who's a long-term, I mean, you're going to be really good for a long time. I
mean, the fans have kind of fallen in love with the idea of go out and get a veteran, whether it's, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or whoever it might be. People have fallen in love with that idea, but honestly, the best thing for the long-term health of the franchise is to draft somebody and have that guy be here for 15 years.
Exactly.
I mean, Peyton was great. If you could have had 15 years of Peyton,
that would have
been
better. That would have been better.
Better than 4 years.
4 years of Peyton.
Not as good as 15
Not
years.
as good as 15 years.
And so that's why
the kind of stuff you come to the neutral zone for.
Like if you – now here's a question for you.
Okay.
If you could choose right now between having Matt Stafford lead your team or Justin Herbert lead your team, what would you don't know how long Matt Stafford's going to play, but you can just decide between those two guys, and you gotta move forward with one of those players.
Well, I think if you're interested in winning immediately, right this second, I think Stafford is probably the guy to win right this season.
Well, you just want to win
from now on.
Well, so yeah, I mean, maybe Stafford gets you one now, but Justin Herbert's going to make sure you have winning seasons for the next 10 years, and maybe he gets to the point where he leads you to a championship. So that's kind of an interesting question. I don't know if I have a good answer.
I guess it just depends on where your team is at.
Yeah.
If you feel like your team is ready to win right this second, Stafford. If you are maybe a piece or two away and you're targeting like a 2-year period here where you want to win it, then I would say Herbert. Because I could see Herbert winning it in 2 years.
You could argue, I think, that in 2012 when Peyton joined this team, they were more than just one piece away probably.
In 2012?
You don't think so?
No, I thought they should have won it that year. I mean, immediately. Yeah. I mean, and then I think that's a big reason why Peyton
because in 2014, like reinforcements arrived.
They did, but they were not as good that year.
Yeah.
But that 2012 team, that was probably the best team he played on during his time in Denver, I would say. Vaughn and Dumerville, Champ was healthy. That was a really good team. Chris Harris was starting to catch on.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a really talented football team. It's Ravens. I just don't want to even talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. What was it? Yeah,
so you're pretty sure because George was asked specifically, is this for a quarterback?
He didn't want to. Well, no GM is going to go out there. And be like,
but
this
he
is
said,
exactly
it's
what
not just about a quarterback. It could be an edge rusher. It could be a linebacker.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what he
said. And I'm sure he would list every position if you gave him the time. Do you, in your heart, Phil, because you're the emotional guy?
Yes, I am. I'll tell you what I read into it, and I said he really likes a lot of pieces on this team, and he made it clear that this is not a rebuild. Okay, so that means he likes a lot of the pieces. And I think he knows you have to have a really good quarterback, and to get that, you have to have these assets to be able to trade if you need to. That's how I read it. But I don't know. I think they'd like to go for a veteran quarterback.
You think that's what's going to happen?
Unless they fall in love with a quarterback in the draft.
That's a hedge.
Of course, they're going to do their homework.
That's a hedge.
I think that they're gearing up to go after a veteran quarterback.
Are they going to get one?
I don't know.
I want to week. What's happening week one?
That's what I think that they're trying to do.
Well, what's going to happen?
That's what I think. I don't know. The one thing that George said over and over was,
I think they're going to go rookie quarterback.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, it just depends if they like one of those guys, right?
But
if they don't like them, then they're not going to.
It's week 9. We got
You're
a lot.
saying they're gonna
We got
go
a
for
lot
a
of time to change our minds, but
Yeah.
right now, right this second, if I had to guess, I think rookie quarterback.
Got it. Okay, and I think veteran.
But you think they're going to?
That's my guess.
I'm not asking what they're going to try to do. I'm asking what they're going to do.
Veteran quarterback.
Okay, so you think they're going to land one of these guys?
I do.
Okay.
I do. That's what I think. Because the other thing that George said was that the Broncos are 4-4, but it feels like the Broncos are 1-7.
Yeah, that was an interesting
That's what he
comment because I think he was certainly the first time he said it, and he said 2-6.
He said 2-6 to start, and then he said.
But he said outside the organization,
Yeah.
people think we're 2-6.
So I think that maybe part of this year was learning in Bronco land. Instant results. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure.
Got it.
Nobody's interested in waiting around.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's another factor into my thinking.
Okay.
You know.
I mean, hey, I think they'd love to get a veteran quarterback. I just don't think.
Oh, you hedger.
That's not a hedge at
Yeah.
all.
Oh,
you
yeah,
asked,
it's a hedge.
You asked me what's going to happen. I told you what's going to happen. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen.
I think
I told
the
you.
Bushes out
I
front
told
needed
you.
some work.
What was going to happen? But I think they would like to get one. I just don't.
I think they'd like a rookie quarterback too, just to be on the record.
Okay,
Like that,
perfect,
too.
nice. I don't think a veteran is as feasible in my mind.
It's harder to pull off. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
It's
and
harder to
I
pull
don't think
off.
that. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's harder to pull off. No doubt about it. Eric, let's talk about one of those top quarterbacks in the league right now, in Dak Prescott. The Broncos are going
Cooper Rush?
into Jerry World. Huh?
Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush looked pretty good, didn't he?
Yeah.
Last 2-minute drive there at the end, no problem. They kept cutting to his parents in the stands. Boom, touchdown. I think Amari Cooper's really good though.
That's true. That's a good take.
Yeah, you just put the ball in the vicinity of that guy and he's going to come down with it.
Yeah.
The Broncos are going into Jerry World though. A big task on hand this week. At 4-4, there's 2 games before the bye here. Cowboys and then the Eagles at home. An opportunity to really flip the script a little bit here, Eric, if the Broncos can do it. It's going to be very difficult, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectation is to just get to the bye at 5-5. Just like that's the realistic outlook.
That's your expectation. Or whose expectation?
I think like the America's.
But not in the building.
No,
Oh,
you of course. You're like
6-4.
13-4. We're on our way.
Correct.
But I would say the realistic expectation outside the building is to get there at 5-5. But you're now at the point in the season, and you've done enough to like stay at 500, where any upset win over a team like the Cowboys, or if you can go to Kansas City in December and get an upset win, like any of those, turning those into wins would change the trajectory of the season. And so they do have a really big opportunity this week, and whether it's against Dak or against if Cooper Rush has to play, because as we're recording this, it looks like Dak's moving toward playing, but it's certainly not a 100%.
It's not 100%. It's probably like 95%.
Well, but they were kind of at this point last week where they said he was going to practice on Wednesday, and then he did something on Thursday, and his calf started acting up again. And so those calves are a little tricky.
Especially when they're activated.
Yeah, exactly.
You go out there and
Gotta
hit some
hit bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, Dak's an incredible player. He can extend plays. He's got a great arm, really accurate. The Broncos did kind of smack him around in 2017.
Akeem Talib pick 6 from the end zone.
Yeah. I mean, that game was interesting. I think that Broncos team probably had higher expectations against the Cowboys that year.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
the Cowboys were not as good that year, for sure.
Not as good, but I think you were like, wow, Dak, Zeke. But that was like their first year that you were like, this is going to be a really good
I
team.
think Des Bryant was on that team still. Yep.
And the Broncos just smacked them.
Yeah, they whooped them.
It was really unexpected. I thought, maybe the Broncos can win a close. You thought the Broncos were going to win by 30 points?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know everything. Dak to me is just going to be a huge challenge for this team.
Yeah, I think that the weapons out on the outside, Amari Cooper a little banged up too, but if he goes, I think there's a real challenge there on
CeeDee
the outside.
Lamb.
You see CeeDee, and with Bryce Callahan going down, now there's some question marks. Okay, how are the Broncos going to line up? Vic Fangio on Wednesday said that they're going to try Fuller there a little bit. They said Pat Surtain might go back inside a little bit.
Nate Hairston.
Nate Hairston, of course. Nate Hairston got some more reps last week than Fuller did.
Yeah, I mean, Nate Hairston has been the nickel guy. When Surtain went out a few weeks ago, they moved Callahan over to the outside and put Hairston in.
Whenever I hear the name Hairston, I want to say it like with an Irish accent, kind of like Hairston.
Yeah.
Callahan.
I think the bigger issue outside of, Cooper's going to make his plays, CeeDee Lamb's going to make his plays. The thing I'm most concerned about is Zeke.
Oh, okay.
You don't agree?
I mean, their rushing attack has been good, but sometimes when
Not their rushing attack.
Oh, dumping it off to Zeke.
Where the Broncos were really hurt against Washington was McKissick catching the ball out of the backfield on these wheel routes. Baron Browning, Kenny Young, Justin Cernat figuring out where they're going, having their eyes correct, having the speed to keep up with these guys. I mean, Zeke has the speed.
He's elusive.
And he's also going to punish you.
Yeah, he's elusive.
When you come up to make the tackle. I would be concerned if I were the Broncos about the Cowboys just kind of dumping it off to Zeke and picking up easy yards and just kind of moving the chains that way. That, to me, is the number one concern. I think
that got a lot of weapons.
I think Pat Surtain can hold his own. I'm not saying he's not going to give up a couple plays, but I think Pat Surtain can hold his own.
You think he goes against CeeDee? Probably makes the most sense. A little bigger guy.
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends. They haven't really moved them around, so it just depends where the Cowboys put their guys. But I still think Darby and Surtain, and with Justin Simmons back there, like, you've got as good a chance as anybody to match up with those guys. But I worry about that linebacking core, a young linebacking core, when you can just, Dak's scrambling, you dump it off to Zeke, he picks up 15 to 20 on 3rd and 5. Like, those are the demoralizing plays.
Yeah, the other thing the Broncos struggled with against Washington was those crossing routes where they're transferring from zone to zone and the linebackers are in there. And even when Callahan was in there was one play where he kind of got picked and boom, there's an open play there. So those are the plays that I'm really concerned about.
That probably should have been a penalty, I think.
Should have been.
Yeah.
Should have been. Well, I think sometimes those don't get called,
Yeah.
And I think that Amari Cooper is really, like, as good as he is, he's even still sort of underrated, in my opinion. Like, nobody really talks about Amari Cooper as, like, one of the best. And when he's healthy, he's really good. Off the line of scrimmage, his footwork is amazing. And so I just think that all those weapons, it might be – I mean, the good thing the Broncos did against Washington was not give up the big play over the top.
Yep.
We haven't seen them give that up in 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
So they've improved there, but there's some concerns there.
Well, and I would be okay if you could even, if you're willing to say, hey, we're going to give up the dink and dunks to Zeke, we're going to give up some of these shallow crossing routes, and we're going to make you go 10, 12, 15 plays to score. If I were the Broncos, I'd be okay with shortening the game and then just know, hey, we might have to go for it on 4th down a couple times. We're going to have to execute. We can't have a sack at a bad time. We can't have a penalty at a bad time. We got to take advantage of every opportunity. And maybe you're able to, I think about this game kind of like when you went to Kansas City last year where everyone's like, Broncos are going to have to score 30 points to be in this.
Like, no, the reverse.
And the game was, 23-20 or something like that?
Try to do time up. Like, the Broncos, maybe their best defense is a good offense.
Or a good defense. Slow it down, minimize the possessions, try to make it so that in the 4th quarter you're in it. I mean, to me, that makes sense. If Dak's not on the field, he can't be throwing bombs.
That's true.
If his calf hurts, he can't do that either.
He can't do that, no. Yeah, it'll be interesting. What about the Broncos' pass rush, do you think? No Von Miller, but it looked decent against Washington.
It did look decent. Draymond Jones and Shelby Harris got things going, which to me was just as big as anything the outside backers did.
Well, Malik Reed, those 2 sacks late in the game, those are big-time plays.
But when Shelby and Draymond can get a push, you can't double those guys. You can't give quite the same attention. I mean, Malik obviously had a great game, but Malik can't do it on his own. Malik is not Myles Garrett. Well, some guys can do it on their own.
Triple teamed?
Aaron Donald does it on his own.
Yeah, that's true, Aaron Donald.
But if Malik can get some help inside from Draymond and Shelby and they can get a good rush, if you can have either Weatherly or Cooper have a couple nice rushes on the edge. I'm guessing Dak is not going to be quite as mobile.
That's what I'm sort of
even
thinking.
if he can play. And so it'll be interesting to watch. They've definitely got to get some sort of rush. They can't let him stand back there. But it was better last week than it's been. And Phil, I don't want to be negative.
Ooh.
But Vaughn had not gotten the same type of pressure against the Ravens, against the Steelers. I'm missing one. Against the Raiders that we saw early in the season. I'm not sure there's going to be as big of a drop-off as people think.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that. I was just saying.
No, I'm not. There's a lot of people that I think are like
extra eyeballs.
People are like, you're giving up on the season. Your rush is going to be terrible now.
No. They played all last year without Vaughn.
Yeah.
And they played last week without Vaughn.
Yeah.
Played the second half.
Last year didn't go well.
Vaughn. Oh, that's true. But the defense was still pretty good.
Not statistically.
Pretty good. I'll say that.
They were like 23rd in points per game or something.
What about the DVOA?
Like, I'd have to check on that and get back to you.
So you don't have that? Just
last year's DVOA without Vaughn, no, I don't.
Okay. Eric, should we get into some bold predictions?
Sure, I will. I have one more point I would like
the Cowboys?
It is
Go ahead.
It is completely and utterly unfair and ridiculous that Dak is coming back to play the Broncos and that Aaron Rodgers is on the COVID list when they play the Chiefs.
Oh, you think that's just handing one to the Chiefs?
That is not fair.
Yeah.
The Chiefs were struggling. They were going to get to 7 or 8 losses. They were going to be out of the playoff race. They still got to play.
They almost lost to the Giants last week, Eric.
They still were going to have to play Aaron Rodgers. They were going to have to play the Packers. Yeah. They got to play the Chargers and the Raiders.
Still a decent Packers team.
Aaron Jones. Patrick Mahomes ain't losing that one.
What about?
Yeah, see, that's what lights said.
Can you turn on the lights?
I don't know how to do that.
I think you just get up and move around a little bit. Let's see. The
Please
lights have gone
me.
off in our podcast studio. Eric is going to turn them on. Thank you very much, Eric. Very nice. Ben Swanson, always at it.
Yep. So that's just like one of those breaks where you're like, of course Kansas City gets this break.
Yeah.
And of course the Broncos play the Cowboys.
Jordan Love is not a disaster.
Of course the Broncos play the Cowboys 1 week after Dak doesn't play.
Maybe the Broncos break is coming later in the season, Eric.
Well, I guess they did get to play Case Keenum and they lost.
That's true. They didn't have to face Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. I tweeted before the game.
Yeah.
Why are you making noises? I tweeted before the game. I thought that Case Keenum was a harder quarterback to go against than an injured Baker Mayfield. And people were like, you're ridiculous. They're going to kill Case Keenum. That was you, I think.
Your Twitter followers must not be – you're making fun of them? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if that – yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Wow.
Watch out if you fall. I was right.
No, I mean, a guy who's injured and who's thinking about it is obviously –
Well, you'd probably rather have – 70% Dak than 100% Cooper Rush, right?
I don't know. He looked pretty good. They went on the road and beat a pretty good Minnesota team that was that was pretty hot heading into that one. They're not like a good team, maybe record wise, but they were hot. They had won a few in there. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens this week, though. Yeah, but Aaron
I don't like it.
Gosh. Yeah.
That's a whole other podcast for next year.
Yeah, but I was going to say the Chiefs could still very well lose to that Packers team.
Yeah,
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes does not look like the Patrick Mahomes we've seen.
No, and I keep waiting for him to get it together, and he hasn't yet. And he's probably waiting for Week 12.
A lot of turnovers.
He's probably waiting for Week 12.
That's the way your mind works, huh?
Yes. I'm like, Patrick Mahomes is going to have 45 turnovers and then just smack around us. I don't mean us.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be out there in Kansas City. He's going to be like, I heard you guys talking trash.
Yeah. He's going to throw. Yeah. Kind of like Odd Job, in James Bond, takes off his hat.
Uh-huh.
Patrick Mahomes, except with a football.
And then he's going to do a TikTok dance over your body.
That's his brother.
Yeah. But he'll be like, this is my first TikTok dance.
His first
I'm less worried about the turnovers. Have you seen the videos of Patrick Mahomes' brother doing TikToks with Mahomes in the background?
Yeah.
There's no life in Patrick's eyes. He just looks like a sad man.
Well, the way he's been playing. Maybe that.
Maybe it's the TikToks.
Maybe. He's got to stay away from the TikToks.
Yeah. Stay off the TikTok.
Yeah. Let's get the bold predictions, Eric.
Okay.
Let's hear one from the Broncos offense, maybe.
Offense. I think Jerry Jeudy will have more receiving yards than CeeDee Lamb.
Oh. CeeDee Lamb has taken 1 pick after Jerry Jeudy, right?
2 picks.
2 picks after.
Don't let facts get in the way.
It's a better story if it's just one after another, right? Yeah. It's
The
been
Broncos
interesting
had
here over the
CeeDee
years.
Lamb written down on. No.
Yeah, like with Dak, that year, of course, the Cowboys were rumored to want to go up and get Paxton Lynch.
Yeah. Well, and.
What if?
What?
What
if?
And then
Dez and DT.
Dez and DT.
DT was selected first, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was probably a split. Maybe DT maybe had the better career. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that you can.
He
it's
won
very,
a Super Bowl,
very
so-
close.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that you say either one of those guys is like significantly better than the other.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, of course, this year, Pat Surtain and Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
It's
He traded
these two
up, right,
teams
to get
have
Micah
been all-
Parsons?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. Did they?
Maybe the Eagles
remember.
traded up to get their guys. So one of the
There's some
Eagles and
activity.
Cowboys had a trade with each other, but I
There's some
can't remember.
activity. I think the
what
Cowboys,
happened.
though, were hoping to get Surtain.
Yeah.
And then when the Broncos took him, then they
Well, and Vic
changed
Fangio
gears and
said
went to
that
Micah Parsons.
Parsons was one of the guys they would consider. He was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week this week. But I don't, I think I'm not sure that he did all. Like, he had 11 or 12 tackles, but it wasn't like he had 3 forced fumbles or something.
He's been very good.
If Pat Surtain gets a couple interceptions here, he's going to be right in the mix for that award.
Yeah.
It's like
But
Surtain.
right now
and
it's probably Parsons.
Oh, yeah. But a lot of that, too, is like Pat Surtain has not played on national television except for one time. There are certainly some plays where Pat Surtain's been good, and I think if you watched him week in and week out, you'd be like, this guy's deserving. But, yeah, Parsons is probably ahead right now.
I would say that, yeah. It's interesting how closely tied together they are.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll say
Michael Gallup.
from CSU.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the Broncos, though.
Yeah, but Colorado.
Okay.
Cortland Sutton's from Dallas.
Oh, there you go. Now we're talking, yeah. You know what was going to be interesting? I think that if Von Miller was with the Broncos, this would have been his very first time playing back in his hometown.
Yeah, except for maybe
He had not
preseason,
played.
right?
Yeah, but that doesn't really count.
No. First time that counts.
The first regular season game, that would have been important. There would have been
cool.
some build up to it. Nobody gets hyped.
It's
to
Cortland's
play
first regular
preseason.
season game in his hometown.
Yeah. I'll say, what if I say a bold prediction, maybe that Sutton, 2 touchdowns.
Wow, that is bold.
Sutton, 2 touchdowns.
I like it.
Okay, how about the defensive side?
Ooh, defensive side.
Yep.
I'll say. I don't know how to really quantify this, but can I say that Pat Surtain has a better game than Trayvon Diggs?
Oh. Sure. I
don't
think
know
you
how
could
you-
say that. I think you could say it.
Okay, I'll say that.
I mean, if Diggs
Trayvon-
doesn't have an interception, then that's a bad game for him. Yeah, so you
Yeah.
can say that.
I mean, I think if there's one thing about Dak, he's not going to be afraid to target these guys down the field. So
No.
I think Pat's going
He's
to have
not
a
afraid.
chance to make some plays.
I don't think that Dak is going to be afraid to do anything against the Broncos defense. He'll just go out there and do what he wants. Let's see. I'll say Malik Reed has a sack in this game. Is that bold?
It's mild.
I'll just say he follows up a 2-sack game with at
Another
least one.
sack.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll say he has at least one. And then do you have a score prediction for me, Eric?
I'd like to think that the Broncos can keep this close, have some of this, like, nobody believes in us. They traded Vaughn away. Like, people think we're bad now. But I just think the Cowboys are too talented. So I'll say if Dak plays, because I think if Cooper Rush plays, the Broncos will find a way to win.
Oh.
If Dak plays, because I think that's like we can't let another backup quarterback beat us. Blah,
Okay.
blah, blah.
Oh, okay.
If Dak plays, I'll say Cowboys 28, Broncos 23.
28-23.
Yeah.
You say Cowboys. Okay. I say Cowboys 31,
Okay.
Broncos 21.
Okay.
That's the first time that we've predicted a Broncos loss.
Yeah. I mean, this
is probably the best team the Broncos have faced.
This is the hardest game left on the schedule.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you lose this game, it doesn't necessarily mean you're out of it. You can still get to those
Yeah, of course.
9 wins. You got Philly coming up, who's not playing. They played better last week against Detroit, but has not played great. But
Eric, we looked at the schedule. The Broncos should hover right around 500 for a while.
At least until you get to like that final 3-game stretch, and we'll see what happens then. But like, there's no reason that after Detroit, for example, that you're not going to be right around 500.
Got it. I agree, Eric. I'm going to start getting some voicemails queued up here.
Perfect.
Yeah, so give me 1 second. I got the voicemails here. Let's start with our old friend AJ.
Oh, he's back.
Big Teddy Bridgewater
heard from
fan,
him in
of
a
course.
while.
I think he's a big Lowell fan.
Lowell?
I've not heard from AJ. That's because Ben Swanson has not allowed one through. Finally allowed one through here, so let's get to AJ's voicemail.
It's crazy how in 1 week everything can just change, you know? It's like that was a bad 4-game skid, but all 4 of those teams are pretty decent that they lost to. And they're still right in the thick of things. So, I mean, and they're not even playing that good. That's what's crazy. So they can play, like, Teddy Bridgewater is not playing as good as he can play. So that's what's good. I'm very, very happy that they got this win.
AJ, thank you very much for that voicemail. I know you're a big Teddy Bridgewater fan. What do you think about that, Eric? He says the Broncos are 4-4, and Teddy has not been playing as well as he is capable of.
No, I think we've seen what Teddy can do when he's playing well. You know, you look back at Jacksonville, for example. He played one of his better games, I thought. New York, he played pretty well. So I think you look at those second half of Pittsburgh. So you look at those games and you say, this is what Teddy can do when he's on. And if the Broncos can get some of those games, especially against some of these better opponents, they should be in them. You're going to have to get that from Teddy.
Yeah, and one of the things we've seen from Teddy in his past is that when he gets a little dinged up, he doesn't quite play at the same level. So if he's starting to get healthy, which it looks like he's pretty healthy right now, maybe we'll see more improved play here starting this week against the Cowboys. Let's get to another voicemail here. This one's Brandon in Iowa.
Hey, fellas. It's Brandon from Iowa doing my weekly call-in. Just wanted to say let's go Broncos. It's good to bounce back and get a dub against Washington. I just think it's curious. I don't know your guys' opinion, but I find it really odd when the defense plays almost better than the offense does. And luckily we have the defense that we did today because things got a little sketchy there at the end, as Eric had tweeted out. But, a win is a win. They are very hard to come by. As we listen to the team talk each and every week about how hard wins are to come by. We will keep the show rolling, and hopefully we go pick up another one next week. Let's go, guys. Also, shout out Tom Magnetti for being at the game for me. Hopefully he's got some good pictures to send me. Thanks, guys.
Brandon from Iowa, shouting out Tom Magnetti. That's what we love. NZ Nation supporting NZ Nation.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what he meant by the defense playing better than the offense, though.
Yeah, we kind of expected
defense,
that.
Yeah, usually.
But I do think his point about a win is a win is important. I mean, at the end of the year, they're not going to ask you how many points did you win this game by. It's not the college football playoff.
That is true.
And no one's going to say, "Oh, they had a good loss against Pittsburgh because they came back and almost won."
The record is a record.
Not going to say it was a Thursday night game in Cleveland. No, those are losses. These are wins. You get a win.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Get as many as you can.
You could think about it this way: the Giants almost beat Kansas City.
Yeah, but it doesn't
the
matter.
Broncos beat the Giants. So just think about it. Let's get to another voicemail. This one's from Bronco Batman.
What's up, guys? This is Bronco Batman. We got to win. That's great, but to see them trade away Vaughn, I'm just speechless right now because I thought he would be a Bronco for life. I love Vaughn. I think he was still had good several years, really good years left in him if he could stay healthy. But man, this is shocking because it was a good win. Yes, the last series, offensive series, was just what show. So we escaped there. So it felt like a win, but it really didn't. And then to knock it with the trading of Von Miller, that if you can tell, I'm just shocked right now. So,
Bronco Batman, I think that a lot of Broncos country feels like you are just a little maybe distraught.
Yeah.
Hard to swallow that, but also think like emotionally being sad, but mentally being like, I sort of understand it. That doesn't make it any easier.
No, but I do think it makes sense when you process it, when you're able to put emotion aside. If Vaughn wasn't going to come back, and it sounds like there was no guarantee he was, you can't just let him. You can't. 9 games is not worth getting nothing or a 5th-round pick, and so I understand the decision that George Paton made. And listen, Vaughn will be back. He'll go into the Ring of Fame.
Yes,
he's gonna. He seems like the type of guy that maybe you retire his number. Even like he's that caliber of player. There's going to be chances to celebrate Vaughn. He'll be back. There's Super Bowl reunions that are going to come up. I mean, there's a lot more of Vaughn with the Broncos to come. So difficult in the moment, but this happens with everybody. I mean, it happened to DT, happened to Peyton in Indianapolis, Tom Brady. I mean,
Eric, I do wish that, I don't know how you would structure a league this way, but it would be nice if there was a way for these guys to just play their whole career in one spot. But it just seems like that's impossible.
It just doesn't. That's not how it works.
That's
anymore.
not how it works.
No.
I mean, it's sad, but
I mean, you can't there's like Larry Fitzgerald, for example. He's going to play his entire career with the Cardinals, but that's because he probably can still play.
Yeah, but
he said, I'd rather not play than play for anybody but the Cardinals.
Yeah,
and that's
rare.
That's rare because a lot of if you can still play, why not go play?
Yeah. And then one last one. This is a new caller. This is Ken in MD.
I have to say, as much as I love Vaughn and wanted him to retire Bronco like most of Broncos country, maybe it's time to start considering life after Vaughn. But I can't believe I'm saying it. Anyway, I wanted to get you guys' thoughts. Still love the show. Keep doing what you're doing, and let me know what you think. Bye.
Ken, thank you very much for leaving a voicemail there. Appreciate it. Seems like a similar situation there where you're starting to grasp what's happened.
Yeah, and I mean, even really in my eyes this year, Vaughn was not your best defensive player.
Nope.
He was starting to be kind of like that complementary piece. He's still really good, obviously. He was the AFC Defensive Player of the Month. Still had a lot to provide, but he wasn't going to be the guy that carried your defense anymore. And so whether or not he stayed the rest of the year, whether or not he was going to come back for 2 or 3 more years on kind of like a third down type role, I mean, you were going to have to figure out what does this defense look like without Von Miller. It's just happening maybe a little earlier than people expected.
Yeah, and the pass rush position is so interesting, Eric, because we've seen guys in the past like Bruce Smith or Reggie White have these extended careers where they're still putting up big sack numbers, and a lot of times guys transition into that DeMarcus Ware role, and so you could still have a quality football even later in your career. I think that's what the big question mark around Vaughn was, is would he be okay in that type of role as he gets a little bit older? What kind of contract is he looking for in the future after this one? And I think a lot of unknowns there when it comes to Vaughn, because when healthy, we saw what he could do those first couple of games, and he still looked like Von Miller. But then as the season goes on, can he stay at that level? That's a big question mark going forward. And I think Vaughn, and like this kind of gets back to my point about players playing in their whole career in one spot. Sometimes the player has to just be honest with themselves and say, can I still play like where I think I can? Too often times the player has an exaggerated sense of self.
No.
So, Eric, any shout-outs here to get to before we say goodbye?
Just a quick one, as always, to our friend Liz Gerald's, parenthesis, Manis.
Yeah. What have they been doing this week?
In the community?
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Not really a community event, but a couple of Broncos went to down to Colorado Springs, right?
That's true.
Salute to service.
Yeah.
That was cool. I think I saw some pictures from that are kind of
Andrew
interesting.
Beck.
Yeah. So
Baron Browning.
Yeah. Baron Browning's been in the community a lot.
Yeah.
He's worth a shout out.
Yeah.
He was at that Miles for Miles event I was at. I go back to that. I just like the name. I think.
Yeah, no, of course.
It's a really catchy name. Some of this things is about just marketing, Miles for Miles. Boom. That sticks.
It's good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Eric, anything else you want to talk about here?
No, I think it's
time to say goodbye.
a thorough episode.
Yeah. If you'd like to leave a voicemail, 707-NEUTRAL is how you do that. If you'd like to leave an email, neutralzoneshow@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter if you'd like to get in touch that way, at Eric Dalala with an A, at Phil Milani with a PH, or just smash the subscribe button and leave a comment right here on YouTube. We'll be back next Monday to break down whatever happens between the Broncos and Cowboys. We'll be live at Breckenridge Brewery. Brewery. It's a farmhouse.
Trying to make it a farm home.
It's in Littleton off of Santa Fe and Brewery Lane. Come out and join us if you can. If not, we'll be live on the Broncos YouTube page. That's from 6 to 7 Mountain Time coming up on Monday. Until then, for Eric Dalala, I'm Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.